Yeah. So I'll come, you share an issue with me and I'm like, mwanaume mzima unasumbuliwa na kitu kama hiyo, you know?
Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about mental health in home, or rather affecting also families. And once again, for the third time in a row, I'm joined by Ivy Murugi, and she's here to give us her expertise on the issue at hand.
Hi guys, my name is Ivy Murugi, a student of counseling psychology at the University of Nairobi. Very passionate about matters mental health, and I'm glad to be joining Alvin again on today's episode.
Once again, you're back.
I'm back.
Another one.
Glad to be on this one as well.
So it's my pleasure also. Wasi bedha na appreciate vile una educate, unapea content, knowledge. It's good actually. And I get positive reviews. I hope you're proud.
I'm proud and humbled. Zote pamoja.
Combination.
Yeah, and also kudos for the amazing platform that you have.
Thank you. I hope kuna wenye wamekuwa reach out to you, you know.
Yeah, definitely. For those I'm not able to handle, I always do a referral. Hizo linkages ziko pia. So what was your gope to reach out? I reply to DMs. Professional ones. Professional ones.
So on today's episode, we are going to be talking about mental health in home and how it affects the family as a whole. You see, like the family constitutes of a mother, a father, and the children. The other families, it consists of the father and the children. In others, the mother and the children. You know, there are different definitions of families.
Yeah.
But our main factor is how to address the mental health issues that could be affecting them. So, what do you think the main cause in any type of family? What do you think the main cause of mental health issues at home could be?
I wouldn't say there's like a specific cause.
Yeah,
there could be. it's a whole wide range of factors that result into all these mental health issues being reported. I think it was the first episode where we talked about dysfunctional families, and where we were exploring things like having a father and mother who are not in the best of terms. So it trickles down to the children because sometimes you find them wanting the kids to take sides. And I get confused as a small child, you know. My father is the one who provides for me, so I should take his side, otherwise my fee would be paid.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, my mom looks like the helpless one, so I empathize with her the more, I understand her more when it comes to the emotions.
Yeah.
So now your parents putting you in that place where they want both of you to choose would really make me go through a lot. We have families where domestic violence is present, so kids get exposed to watching their spouses getting into fights that could result into injuries. Sometimes even the kids themselves actually get into those fights and harm themselves. So getting them exposed to such things at a very young age could also translate to them, because again sometimes you find them looking at these relationships and adapting the same to their own relationships because they assume it's the norm. You know, they grow up knowing mama can misbehave anafaa kuchapwa na baba. So even when they get their own families, that's the same thing they want to do to their wives. You see, sibling rivalry as well, and most times again it's brought in by the parents when they're being compared. You know, every other time you're being like your firstborn, being like the second born.
They even pick a favorite, you know.
Yes, they pick a
outright.
Yes, they do not hide it. They always they label you as the black sheep of the family. Wewe ndio hausomi shule, wewe ndio haujui kufanya chochote, you see. So it brings rivalry, one between the kid and the parent themselves, but also even between the siblings, because you're like, why are my siblings being favored as compared to me as a person, you know?
Yes.
Other issues could as well be as a result of maybe things like finances. When family is going through financial crisis, it definitely translates down because there's so much that you do not get to enjoy as a kid. In terms of maybe your healthcare, in terms of the basic needs, it could affect you as a person, and especially when you look at the kids around you or even where you school at, and they're being able to have access to all these things. It could have an effect on your mental health because you clearly do not understand why am I getting into this place what have I done to deserve all this, you see. So a wide range of factors usually come into play. We cannot really pinpoint that there's a specific one. Yes.
Yeah. So on the topic about divorce, you're going to meet that maybe like a father has been left with the kids and the mom goes, or the mom has been left with the kids and the dad goes. So how do you think this will affect the people who have been left behind mentally?
So one, the absence, an unexplained absence is going to raise a lot of questions in this child, and most times they'll ask very innocently, and you know how parents react when it's an issue they don't want to address. They'll say, "Achana na huyo," you know. So what you'll find most times is that the moment a parent is asked about a spouse that is missing, they become very defensive, and they'll always point the other spouse as the person that was in the wrong. They'll never really tell their side of the story where they did 1 to 3 things wrong. So one, the kids are affected because they're at a place where they have so many unanswered questions. When they look at their friends are growing up with a mother and a father present. But they look at their situation, it's different, and they can't really understand why exactly is there that disparity between them.
And they're not going to be getting clear answers.
Yes, they will not get clear answers from their parents because they'll either shun away the question, or they're going to point the other spouse as the person that was evil, or they're not going to address it at all. So you as a kid, you're left with so many questions in the midst of it all. They might also get affected mentally in terms of how they interpret their situation. It could affect how their relationships during adulthood actually translate into. Because if I've grown up with a single mom, I might get this mentality of I don't need a man in my life. So I'll be independent, I'll just get my own kids, and I'll also make my own kids go through the process of not having to grow up in that nuclear type of a setting of a family. Okay, this doesn't justify parents staying together in a union that is not working, so that the kids have that union. But whenever it is possible, it's very important to provide children with that kind of an environment. So mentally, they might also get affected in terms of having to go without some needs, because I may be left with all the parents and with all the kids, and my spouse is not contributing financially to this, so I'm struggling to actually be able to provide for them. But kids, I think even you as a kid, you used to have this notion that my mom has money all the time, my dad has money all the time. So it's every time, mom nataka hii, mom nataka hii, mom nataka hii. So when I'm not getting that, and I'm not brought into a place of understanding that my mom or my dad is not in a place to provide 1 to 3 things for me, I will get stressed, I will get frustrated, I will get agitated, because my friends are being able to have it, so am I not being able to enjoy the same things? Why am I not getting the kind of toys that my friends have, that type of a thing? So it eats into them, again, when they go to school, and they have an environment where, their peers, or rather their classmates, are talking about their families, and they are saying, mama yangu na baba yangu, and you don't have that person present for you to be able to shine with mama yangu na baba yangu. So it will affect you, because kids will innocently ask you, kwani mama yako anakuanga wapi, ama kwani baba yako anakuanga wapi? And it's not a straight answer where it's a situation like maybe the death of one of these parents, where you can be able to say alikufa. You see, it's a situation where you can't explain. He's present, but he's not living with us. She's present, but she left us with our dad. You see, so that mental torture that is coming from your fellow colleagues and peers talking about their own parents can really eat into you as a child, and especially when you're not able to explain to them why exactly the situation is that way.
Yeah, so we also some children also get to experience the unfortunate incident that they get raised up in families that are violent.
Yes.
Like maybe you meet the dad is anakuja home akiwa amelewa, ni usiku amefika saa 7, shafika huko, it's war, it is chaos everywhere. These children, most of them will grow up to be fearful.
Yes.
In most situations, they'll be excluding themselves from like any social kind of gathering.
Yes.
Because they don't know what to expect from people. They'll be thinking maybe all these other kind of people, they are also violent, like what they saw at home.
Yeah.
So do you think these children are depressed and are really affected mentally?
they could be affected mentally. I think it was the first episode where we were talking about advanced childhood experiences.
Yeah.
So we're not dealt with. Definitely when you're going through them, there's like a phase of your life where they're sort of going to be buried into your unconscious part of the mind. So when you get into relationships, you're going to be able to see all that. It is going to be evidenced. There could be the kid that has grown up in a home that is violent. They will take that as a norm, because behavior is learned.
Yeah.
When a child is born, they're born with a brain that is like a clean slate. So it is the environment, the nature, and the nurture that comes into play into the behavior of this person.
So they go picking up traits and
Yes.
behavior from the close people they see.
Exactly, the people that they're actually interacting with within their own specific circle. So when I get into my own relationship, I'll be like, it's a norm. If my person misbehaves, I'm supposed to shut them, I give them silent treatment because that is what I saw my dad
Yeah.
and my mom doing to
Yeah.
each other, you see.
Yeah.
So I carry on these negative traits even into my own relationship because
Yeah.
for me they look like they're a norm, but they're actually not a norm.
Yeah, without you knowing that you're actually passing the same kind of trauma you got to experience as a child
Yes.
to your own children.
Yes. Again, in psychology, there's something that we call attachment styles. There are a variety of them. I don't want to get into detail, but you realize the kind of environment that a child grows up in will translate into the kind of they will identify with a certain attachment style depending on how it was for them. So there are those that will be fearful, avoidant, ako ndani ya relationship na bado ako nje
Ako
because
nje. Ako
they're not
tu-
sure of what. Yes, it's because of an unsurety that has also been witnessed in there when they were being brought up. There are those that will be very anxious, they become clingy because they're like, this person is going to leave me at any time.
Yeah, and I
so
don't
even when they
relate.
get into a relationship with somebody that is abusive, they're going to justify the abuse of this person because they don't want them to go away.
Yeah.
They will do everything no matter what just to be able to stay with this person. And statistically, very few people have the kind of attachment that is desired. It's called the secure attachment, where you're just able to define your boundaries with your partner. You let them be as a person. You don't like shield them and lock them and be like, you have to be with me 24/7. Very few people, actually only like 1% of the population has a secure attachment. So you can literally see how our influences from childhood have an effect on how we turn out as people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, just like a quick trivia.
Mhm.
I read somewhere that if your family maybe has a history of people who maybe go to experience these mental health issues
Yes.
and maybe depression,
Mhm.
that it can be carried down to the next of kin. Is it
Yes.
true? And when it gets carried down,
Mhm.
it gets even worse. Like the anxiety spikes up
Mhm.
and the depression gets real.
Sure, it's true. Most of these mental disorders actually have genetics as one of the causes. So the likes of depression,
Yeah.
we have the anxiety disorders, we have substance use disorders.
Yeah.
Things like alcoholism and addiction are actually genetic in a way.
So
No, but
maybe
you
your
see-
grandfather was drinking. You
Yes,
find
as much
yourself
as
in a
as much
bottle.
as genetics come into play, you could be having
You also-
that gene,
yeah.
but it can be dormant.
Yeah, it's not
You
a-
see, so your environment and the triggers around you are what are going to determine whether it's going to now become active or it will still keep on being dormant. But
Okay.
it's actually true. Genetics play a role.
Okay, I hope mmesikia nyi watu wa pound.
Yeah. If
Okay.
there's a gene in your family, just make sure you're in the right environment, an environment that is safe, so that you don't get triggered to actually
Yeah,
get into
so
addiction.
that you don't get to become a drug abuser.
Yes.
It's
Mm.
hectic. What about families that families that the father is there and the mother is there, yes, but these people don't form like an emotional connection.
Mhm.
They're just there like for the sake of their children.
Uh-huh.
You get it?
The
So-
children are the bonding factor.
Yeah, the children are the bonding factor.
Mhm.
But then these people, maybe they'll go outside, maybe the dad is not in love with the mom anymore, so ataenda apate
Mwingine.
mwingine. The mom also does the same, apate mwingine. They are living a good life outside there,
Mhm.
but so they have to return home because of the children. How do you think that impacts on the parents that are doing that kind of thing? Because there are people who do that. They're only together because of the children. They're just under one roof because of the children, so that the children can get a safe upbringing. What do you think really happens to them when it comes to mental?
To them as parents,
Yeah.
so definitely there'll be the stress about not being present for their kids, and also having the struggle of making sure that your kids don't find out that you're having extramarital affairs.
Yeah.
So it comes with a lot of tension, And again, for you to get to a place where you're actually going to look for spouses outside your marriage, then it means that there are issues between the two of you. And when these issues are not being addressed, then it predisposes you to getting all these other mental illnesses, the likes of depression. You have stress that has not been addressed. And if stress is not addressed, if depression is not addressed, and I don't want to face the reality as it is that my relationship is not working and I need to do 1 to 3 things, then I'll definitely go and look for substitutes to be able to cope. That is where things like drug and substance abuse actually come in. Anxiety disorders and all that. So it affects you as an individual as much as you're going to try and act that like it's not helping you. And you'll find most of the times when both spouses are actually having extramarital affairs, it's some sort of a competition, you know, trying to establish that dominance ya hata mimi ninaweza fanya hivyo, usifikirie mimi peke ndio unaweza ukafanyia hivyo. So these people have unaddressed issues that are trickling down, and then there's also the fear of if our kids find out, you see. It's a whole web. You're trying, like, a lot of lies, and you know what lies to do to you as a person. You have to keep up with them. You have to keep up with them, and that really stresses you as a person, because you're afraid your kids might find out and they'll actually get to know you're not the dad that we know, or you're not the mom that we know. And the fear of not being able to give them the best, the fear of not being present for them, the fear that a day is going to come when we are going to now separate and have to tell our kids that this is what is as that place. So it is up to them as much as they'll act like we don't care, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. So in the recent years, ama tu juzi, especially this time of COVID, we were waking up to news that, you know, maybe a parent woke up, they killed their children, they killed their spouse, you know, they killed people they were living with. What do you think really happens in that kind of a family? Because it can easily be related maybe to mental health issues or even depression. What do you think really goes on in such kind of a homestead?
Now, for a person to get to a place where they decide to, we call it homicide, you decide to harm the whole of the family, this person is definitely not in the right state of mind. They have so many underlying issues, mental illnesses that have actually not been addressed, diagnosed, or even treated. Because not some of them, they usually need to be treated because treatment options are available. It's not like being diagnosed with a mental illness is the end of life for you. It's something that can be managed and treated. So you'll find out that most of these people, that's why sometimes when they get to go to court, you'll hear that the judge says that an assessment, a mental health assessment needs to be done on this person. So that, because no person in the right state of mind is going to just washia nyumba yake moto or take a knife and, you know, harm the people. Every human has a conscience, you know. So for me to get to that point of being that kind of a psychopath, it definitely is something underlying that I have. And this underlying thing usually comes as a result of so many unresolved issues. You know, most times we usually have this tendency of running away from our problems. But we forget, as much as we run and try to repress them, a moment is going to come when they're all going to come out, and we have to deal with them. So we keep on stalking. Imagine having conflict, like a husband and a wife having conflict for like 5 years. You can imagine the kind of issues that have been piling up. A moment is going to come when it's all going to burst. And when it bursts, you definitely do a lot of crazy things because you're not in the right state of mind. Your emotional self becomes numb. So it is you just acting out of irrational thinking. And at that point, you're capable of doing anything crazy. Because your logic it's dead.
Now, do you think us as a society, we have a part that we play when it comes to these homicides? Let's say, for example, you know somebody, and that somebody decides to go and, you know, murder the whole family or do whatever, those things, they are quite disturbing. Now, maybe they try to approach me for help. They try to come and talk to me, but I didn't listen. I did what we were discussing in episode 2, whereby you're offering solution without listening. Right. Do you think as a society sometimes we play part in these kinds of things that we are seeing?
We definitely play a big part, and I will say actually the recent the past couple of maybe 2-3 years is when conversations on mental health have started being normalized. We used to look at it as a subject like, you see the way our
Don't
parents
associate me with it.
yes, the way our parents shun off from having discussions on sexuality and that type of thing. That is how we've also been treating mental health.
Yeah.
So people don't know, one, what it means to be a safe space. People do not know what it means to listen without judging someone.
Yeah.
So I'll come, you share an issue with me and I'm like, mwanaume mzima unasumbuliwa na kitu kama hiyo, you know. But you forget that this man does not have a biological composition that is different from that of a lady. So they are prone to experiencing the same emotions that this lady could be going through. So why is it that I am now not making it look like it's not normal for this man to actually have something like a cry outburst, you see? So we as a society definitely are playing a role. When you get to a place of being judgmental, when you get to a place of minimizing somebody's problem, you come tell me something and then I tell you a story. You come share a story with me and then I tell you a story in return. Sometimes you could think that it is helping, but it could be getting you to a place of thinking like, yani ni mimi nashinda kuhandle shida yangu, you know. You're minimizing my problem, so you make me feel like I'm not justified to actually feel what I'm feeling. So people do not know what it means to be a safe space. People do not know what it means to be empathetic. People do not know what it means to practice confidentiality, because the moment nimeshare na wewe, I go to somebody else. So the next time I want to actually speak about something that is actually eating me up, I don't know who to go to because I don't know who to trust.
You don't know anybody.
Yes, because my story will spread like bushfire in the next couple of minutes.
Atakomaliza kuongea hivi kuipinduka hivi. Ati
nilisikia na usiende kuambia mtu, you know, this usiende kuambia mtu tells another usiende kuambia mtu. So when I really need now that support, I do not know who to run to.
Yeah.
People are not safe spaces, and it's
quite
conversations true. We are trying to actually normalize so that people can actually be there for each other, know that people go through these type of things. So if you can be able to sit down and fundraise for somebody that is having a physical illness and is admitted, why not come together to provide that social network for somebody going through a psychological distress so that they're able to get better?
I think that's quite impressive. And I think we should really help when somebody comes and approaches you and tells you, I have this kind of issue, kindly listen. Then after you have listened, try to offer the best possible advice you can give them.
And if you can't handle it, give it to a professional. Link them to a professional. We have people that give pro bono, because I know people run away from therapy because they say it's expensive. But we have pro bono services that you can also be able to talk to somebody. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, do you think as a community we also have enough, you know, these therapy places that somebody can easily go to? Let's even start with Nairobi. Do you think in Nairobi there are enough safe spaces?
They are actually enough. It's just that people are not being able to
not aware where they are. Could you kindly list some of them, at least just a few?
So maybe I can start with there's a hotline number by Kenya Red Cross, 1199. So it's a 24/7 free toll line that you can call. You get linked to a professional to be able to listen to you on call, and they can be able to just guide you on what to do. You see, so there's Kenya Red Cross, that 1199. There are so many mental health organizations within Nairobi. You can be able to get to social media and just get their pages. I know of Mental 360. I know of Mental Haven. I know of Let's Go Mental. I know of Alfajiri. I know of there are a couple of them. I think what I'll do is I'll send you like a list.
Send me the list, then I will add it in the description place.
But these services are actually available. The likes of the Kenya Red Cross that I talked about. There's another one called Nzumari Africa, and also the Chiromo Hospital Group. They have toll-free lines. So I'll also give details of that. People can be able to reach out quickly. So the information is there. It's just that people don't know where to get access to them. But if you look at social media handles, the likes of Instagram and Facebook, you'll be able to get them.
Yeah, I think that's nice. At least we have helped solve a bit of it. At least tumesikia hiyo line ya Red Cross. Umesema 1199.
Yes.
Yeah, it's toll free. Please call. Somebody is going to listen to you. You don't have to go to the extreme lengths. People are always ready to listen, even though it's not somebody close to you. At least somebody is willing to listen to you. So take a chance on them. Now, how do you make families a more mentally stable institution as an own?
So I think it starts right from the parents. I'm going to place a very huge responsibility on them to remember that theirs is not just to provide the basic needs for their kids. They are mandated to also ensure that other developmental aspects of this child are actually addressed. So how do you address the mental health of your child? One, give them a listening ear. Make sure that you have the kind of relationship with your child where they can come to you when they're going through something, whether it's in school or at home. Because sometimes you'll find your kids are going through stuff, but they're looking at you as this very unapproachable parent that I cannot come to and tell 1, 2, 3 things because you're going to judge me or you're going to shun off my issue as not something great. So provide that environment. I'm not saying that become your kid's best friend where you entertain all their nonsense.
Don't.
But make sure you have the kind of cordial relationship where your kid feels confident enough to come and talk to you about what they're going through. Provide that. Then randomly talk about mental health. Ask them what how, a
What's
question as
happening with
basic
you?
as
What's going on with your day?
yes, how's your day, how's school, how's work for those that have jobs, for those in campus. Don't just ask them uko na pocket money umemaliza. Ask them unaendelea aje, pressure zinakupeleka aje,
can I
normalize
take you out
those conversations
today?
Yes,
Can we talk today?
exactly. Create also time to be able to spend with your kids, be able to talk about a wide variety of issues, and then make sure you sneak something that is going to give you a better view about your child's mental health during your discussion. Because again, if you come and sit me down as my dad and you're like, how is your mental health, I will look at you like, what answer am I supposed to give you? But if we start on the grounds of, hey, let's talk about Chelsea, let's talk about, random news, politics and everything, and then I'd be like, but hey, how are you managing at school? You've given me that platform to be able to start sharing and opening up, and then you're able to give me guidance as a parent, because parents are very experienced people. They've experienced life as compared to
and that's why I think children look up to parents, because you expect they have everything figured out and they expect they have all the answers and then you'll be like, I'm experiencing sadness, I'm feeling depressed, and then they'll be like, unakosa nini? And then
so
you don't
it's not just
about
the basic needs. Make sure you're also taking care of that. If your child displays signs and symptoms of maybe not, also ensure that you're well versed when it comes to mental health, because you cannot be able to provide support or be able to pinpoint that my kid is not okay if you don't know what to look out for. So make sure you're well versed in the field. But most importantly, as a parent, remember to check yourself as a person.
Because it starts with you.
It starts with you. One thing I love telling people when I talk to them is you cannot pour from an empty cup.
No.
So if I'm not mentally well, if I'm having issues that I've not been able to address, I will not be able to provide that support for my child. So check yourself, make sure that you're mentally well, so that even as you translate to your own kids, your kids are not healing and then wewe unakuja hapo ku revive whatever they're dealing with all the time. So make sure you're okay so that you're also able to support your kids in the best way.
So it's been a pleasure. You just keep amazing me every time. When you just come and sit down here and we're talking about a certain subject, I'm just amazed. Your teachers did a great thing.
Thank you.
And it's quite positive to have somebody like you focusing on people who may be having these mental health issues, and it's a blessing. People like you don't come often, because you can meet somebody, I can go and tell somebody my problems, and then they use it against me. You see, that will be adding salt to our wound. You see. But thanks to you, at least I can be able also to share knowledge with my audience. And it's been such a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure as well. Congratulations for providing platforms where people can be able to learn about these things.
So, as Ivy said earlier, we'll be linking down those places in the description box below, so that you can find a place that you're comfortable with. Call, don't usifungie hiyo penye na kusumbua. Just be free, talk to anybody that you want to talk to, and help will be there.
Yes.
Do you have any parting comments?
Yes, because we've been talking about the aspect of family and parents. I think what I would advise people of my generation is to be able to work on themselves and heal, so that your kids don't have to heal from you. healed so that you're able to be that
Yeah.
safe space where your kid can actually just come and be able to talk to you. And then for anybody out there that is going through any struggle, just because you have to figure everything out, because they cannot do the figuring out for you, but just because you have to get your house in order and solve all your, forgive my terms, solve all your shit, it does not mean that you need to go through it alone. So get people to actually be able to accord you that support, because you're not alone and your mental health matters.
you're
So
not
make sure
alone.
you prioritize it so that you're able to be fruitful in your life. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure.
It's also been a pleasure. So that's going to be all of it for this week's content. Thank you guys for tuning in. Kindly subscribe, like and share this video, and also support us by following our socials down below. I'm going to link them down below. So that's all. Peace.